Hello, smart viewers. Welcome to Face with me, William. And I'm gonna discuss about variously interesting topics in each episode. And for this episode, I'm gonna discuss more on the topic of traveling. Yeah. So, but not just traveling; it's traveling luxuriously. Have enjoyed the best as possible in a specific country. So I'm gonna give out some of the luxurious destinations around the world that maybe you can visit for this recommendation. And for the first one is the Seychelles. Yeah. So when thinking of beautiful places, the Seychelles is one of the first places that comes to mind because with rare wildlife, crystal clear waters, lush rainforest, and breathtaking beaches all around, all outlined before a striking backdrop of rocks. And this truly is like paradise, because one of the best ways to fully experience this archipelago is to take a cruise around the islands. The second one is Tanzania. So a visit to Tanzania combines a safari experience with luxury. So this is one of the best options for people who want to enjoy a fantastic climate and get back to nature while also enjoying high-class accommodation and catering. The Highlands Camp is located in a Ngorongoro conservation area and has spectacular views, including views of Kilimanjaro. So the third one is Aguas Calientes at Peru. Yeah. So the culture of Peru makes a trip here stand out against any other destinations in the world. From the sacred valley of the Incas to the Peruvian Amazon, so this country is a nature lover's dream. So there are many locations you could choose to stay in this country that would allow you to absorb the culture. So the next one is Mirihi Islands, the Maldives. When people think of luxuries, the Maldives are often the first location that I will choose. So Mirahi Island has 30 villas with private decks overlooking the Indian Ocean and 7 additional rooms. So the boutique style accommodation is beautifully designed to reflect the surroundings. I mean, look at that beautiful, gorgeous beach. It's like you wish you would go there. Yeah. And the last one is Andes Peninsula at Costa Rica. So if you're hoping for an exotic break in a naturally beautiful settings, and then the Andes Peninsula in Costa Rica is ideal. So the Andes Peninsula Papagayo Resort is located where Culebra Bay and the Gulf of Papagayo meet. So the mountainous backdrop and lush surroundings make looking out of the window of your luxury suite when you wake up in the mornings an absolute treat. So those are some of the best and luxurious destinations around the world that I would recommend, and maybe you could go there to experience the world, traveling experience the best ways as possible. Yeah. So the next segment, I'm gonna invite one of the examples. Yeah, he's a travel blogger, a luxurious travel blogger who share his experiences on traveling as much as possible, also including in the aviation and airlines. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned on Face to Face. Hello, smart viewers. Welcome back to Face with me, William. And as I promised on the previous segment, I'm going to invite my special guest for today's episode. And he's a travel blogger who likes to travel luxuriously. And please welcome Tantra Tobing. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you. Thank you very much.
Maybe you can share your recent activities related to your hobby for traveling.
Well, actually, my daytime job is a banker, but I have a passionate hobby for travel. Not specifically on the travel itself. I like to travel. Luxurious for most people, right? So I like to travel in like first and business class in airlines, and I also like to try like luxurious hotel And like whenever I go in a city or a country, I always try to visit like the newest like Michelin restaurants, because I have a penchant for like the foodie like culinary world as well. So I'm trying to indulge myself in like the best experience. And apart from that, I'm really into like aviation. So we consider ourselves called aviation geek. So for us, it's about the experience of the flying experience itself, actually. So the holiday is actually, for most of us, it's actually on the flight itself. So there are like many times that we just want to try like certain airlines or like certain aircraft, like going to certain destinations for just like few hours and like, or even like for just one day, and like going back after. So that's just the pleasure, our pleasure that we find in the holiday.
So you can gain pleasure while you're on the airplane.
Yes, that's probably quite different. And some people might think like it's crazy that some people, most people, they want to try like the shortest flights, or like they try to make the flight as fast as possible because they want to get to the destination quickly, right? For us, I mean, like we want to get to the airport. I mean, like as early as possible. We want to get like in the flight as long as possible with the most like stopovers. So that's probably quite different for like many people's like ideas of traveling, right?
How do you kind of like develop your interest in, you know, like in enjoying in airline, in airplanes, in sort of that stuff, you know?
Yeah, for us, I mean, like the sensation of being inside the aircraft itself is actually what we find like amusing for ourselves. I mean, like the sensation of like the boarding experience. I mean, like starting from the check-in experience, boarding experience, and then like sitting on the seat itself. I mean, like even the takeoff and like listening to the engine. That's like that's we call it like heaven for us. Like, so we as soon as like we took off from the, I mean, like get off from the plane. I mean, like we as soon as like we want to get like get back to the aircraft. That's why most of the times, like my holiday and like my personal experience, like my holiday is just like for 1 day or 2 days, because like the experience is actually on the flight itself.
On the flight.
Yeah, the flying experience is actually the holiday side.
Holiday inside of airplane.
Yeah.
And personally, I'm kind of curious about how you kind of develop your interest in aviation, in airlines. Is it something that you experienced earlier?
I actually started probably in my childhood, because like my kind of like weekend getaway at that time is like going to the airport and then like looking at all the aircraft and like taking off and like landed. I mean, and I found it like very amusing for myself. And then also like since my childhood, I think my parents also took me like to the toy shop and like and like the items that caught my attention are like all the aircraft,
all the flying stuff.
Yeah, all the flying stuff. So I was starting the collection of a die-cast, like for the aircraft die-cast since like earlier. So that's kind of I think that kind of grow in me until now. It's probably even worse and more chronic now, because like getting more flights as I grew up.
And it's also interesting because some people might like scared of heights, scared of flight, but then you are the contradictions. You know, you are most likely to, you know, to be on airplanes all the time. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, the thing is like, hey, don't get me wrong. I mean, like even I'm a big fan of flying. I'm also at times. I mean, like if there is turbulence or something, of course we are also scared. Like if there is any like the bumpy flights or something, well, definitely that's kind of scares us off as well. I mean, like that happen like not often, right? I mean, like even if you consider like we talk in the worst case, I mean like the accidents, the if you read like some of the online articles, it's actually more risky for you. I mean like crossing the road or like driving in your own car than like flying in the aircraft. So I mean like if you think like if you're flying on a flight and like you're scared of any accidents, is probably more on your way in the car into the airport, not in the flight. So yeah, when you think of it, I mean like the risk can happen anytime, right? But of course, I mean like being aviation geek, it's not like we are prone to like that scared. We also like had like scared moments if there's like bumpy flights or something.
And also talk about your, like passion or interest in having kind of, having the most extended, maximus, luxurious way of traveling. How you kind of like develop, or having intention to enjoy as much as possible.
Yeah, because because like most of the time when I travel into a country, most of the time I just stay in the hotels, and just like my point of attraction most of the time is just the food, right? The food itself. And I see like, if you want to find like the other travel bloggers with like street food or like a regular food or something, well, they can find like probably like thousands, or there are like lots of people that do kind of coverage here. But like positioning myself more in the like Michelin restaurants or like fine dinings restaurants, because it's like quite niche. Well, I know it's quite niche, but that's why not a lot of people that actually do it in the country, right? So that's why I position myself. I mean, like, if I travel, not in a cocky way, yeah, but I mean, like, I like to enjoy. I mean, like the first and business class, and then like the luxury hotels and the fine dining restaurants. Because if you think of it, in like budget traveling, there are a lot of like travel bloggers that do it, right? So I just want to do it like in the other contrast.
So you're kind of like bringing something different to the table.
Yes, different perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. So the conversation is getting more interesting, but we're gonna have to take a little break. So make sure you stay tuned on Face to Face. Hello, smart viewers, welcome back to Face to Face. Still with me, William, and my special guest for today's episode, Tantra. Hello. Continuing our conversation about, like how to travel luxuriously, or so-called, like having kind of focus more on fine dinings or the best experience as possible. Actually, we have some of your photos that we can discuss, and maybe we can take a look at some of your experiences. We can share about this photo.
Okay, this photo, it was like my flight to Shanghai that time. So it was also like, I always travel in using my redemption of tickets, right?
Yeah.
That's what like I get like most of the questions. I mean, like through Instagram, through Facebook. I mean, like from people normally, like how to do it. I mean, like almost like this flight. I think I only pay like just the tax.
Oh.
So, but the actual flight itself, the cost like quite expensive, so very expensive. So I did it on redemption on this one. This is like the suites class of the Airbus 380 of Singapore Airlines.
Oh.
I think this is the second most like luxurious seats in the world right now, after they got the Etihad, the Residence, and the Emirates as well. Emirates is on par on this one.
Oh, so this is the second
like kind of like most luxurious, yeah.
Oh yeah. So the next photo. You can share
this
about
is
this photo.
Okay, this is in the private room. Private room is like the most exclusive like lounge in the Changi Airport. So only if you show the ticket of first class or suites in Singapore Airlines, so you can enter. So the place is like very quiet and very serene, because like you can wait like for your flight there, and like you can dine, all complimentary. I mean, like you can just pick like whatever from their menu, what you want to have like before like waiting for your flight. You can drink champagne or wines or anything while you wait. And interestingly, in this private room, there's like one Indonesian actually working there. He's actually the only Indonesian that working in the Changi Airport, and he's actually stationed inside the private room.
Oh,
so yeah, it's quite interesting. So sometimes if I wait for my flight there, sometimes we're like chatting and like, who was here? Because like most of the people that were there are like celebrities, or like some are like royalties, like sometimes. So it's quite interesting to know like, hey, what's going on? It's just like gossiping.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
So the next photo.
Oh, this is in Berlin in December. I think this was from last winter holiday. I celebrated my Christmas and New Year in Europe that time. But the interesting part is actually the holiday itself is like very short. I think I only spent like 3 or 4 days in Europe. This is because I wanted to try Oman Air flight.
Oh.
So Oman Air is like currently is my favorite airline. That's why that time I heard like a lot of like news about the airlines. That's why I said like I'm aviation, so I picked the airline first, then the destination. So I think so this holiday because I wanted to try that airline. So I was like very entertained by the satisfied with the Oman Air.
Oman
that time,
Airlines, yeah. And what is it about the food?
This is in Four Seasons Shanghai. I think this is in the Four Seasons Shanghai. So the interesting is like there is like one Chinese restaurant in Hong Kong. It's called Linking Hin. It's in Four Seasons as well, and you have to wait like 5 or 6 months for the seating. You have to book like 5-6 months in advance, which I never had a table there. But this Four Seasons in Shanghai, the chef was actually coming from the same restaurant.
Oh.
So since I never been able to secure my reservation in the Four Seasons Hong Kong because you have to be like 5-6 months in advance, so I just decided to have my dinner
the food.
here. At least I've tried like the same theme, right? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that was your experiences, and then what this photo?
Okay, so this photo, I think in my social media is like one of the most asked questions because like all of these tickets are actually from the Singapore Airlines that I redeem all these flights in 1 year. I normally fly like last year I did 73 flights, and most of them are actually redemptions, like first and business class and suites redemptions. I use from my credit card points and everything. So that's normally like what get like a lot of people asking how you do it and everything. Yeah.
Oh, so that wasn't just because most of your flights are actually using redemption tickets. Yeah. And also continuing our conversation, maybe you can share your most memorable moments while traveling.
Most memorable, I mean, like each holiday for me is like quite different, right? I mean, like and like even like for me, it's like each flight has its own detail and experience, right? I mean, like always like something funny that you see in the flights and everything. But the most memorable experience probably in my birthday this year. My birthday this year, I flew to Hong Kong with the new suites of Singapore Airlines. They just launched it last year. So so currently it's the biggest seat in the world for the biggest like single suite in the world in the airline. So I flew from to Hong Kong during my birthday, and like all the crews like bringing me like the birthday cakes and everything. So it's very pleasant. Even like in the lounge itself, I mean like most of the like the staff in the lounge like singing for me and everything, so it's quite special for me. So that's like one of the most memorable flights.
You share your birthday with the airline crew.
Yeah.
And also, are there any like kind of like embarrassing moments on like on specific airlines or flights? Like interesting moments.
Interesting moments, well, mostly awkward moments moments because like sometimes you sit like in the first class or suite class, like sometimes you sit like next to like a well-known person like celebrity. So not embarrassing, but it's more like awkward. I mean, like sometimes like, hey, you want to take picture with them, but like because like several of like these people probably like a Hollywood celebrity that you probably won't see like twice in your life, right? So that's like I want to take picture, but it's like sometimes it's like embarrassing and everything. But so just because of that, mostly just like awkward moments.
Have you ever like being starstruck, or like it's just like a common kind of like occurrences? Like
have to be cool. Have to be cool.
And what what kind of activities that you kind of like recommend if you are being more interested in luxurious or so-called like traveling like yourself, what kind of activities would you prefer?
I prefer for myself. I mean, like
Yeah,
when
and
when
what
I
would
did.
you recommend for others?
Well,
who like-
I did a lot of like my references from other travel bloggers as well.
Yeah.
I mean, like from Instagram. I mean, like I read. I mean, like the travel magazine. What's new? I mean, like what product of airline is new, and like which hotel is new, which restaurant is new. Sometimes I get reference from there, which I apply for myself. So when I did experience myself, and I share to like others. So I'm happy. Like a lot of people actually find like many of my reviews like useful for them, because like they actually go to that place, or they
Oh,
even
okay.
like tried like certain airline because like of my
Because of your
reviews
recommendation.
of. So
Yeah.
I'm happy like if it can be like useful for like quite a few people.
And also, have you do you got like some tips or tricks when you want to travel your own luxurious way? What kind of specific tips and tricks, personal?
Well, the top questions that I get, I mean, like in my social media, is like, I always like tell people like I fly by redemptions like with my credit card,
Yeah,
but
as
how you
mentioned
do it,
before, yeah.
like even like we did like few workshops just for on this, because like
Just
a
for the
lot of
strategy.
people actually ask
Yeah.
on these questions. So I actually use my credit card. So all my spendings, I actually use like only one credit card. Well, I cannot mention like which bank, but like I'm using that to accumulate like all the points. So all the flights are actually coming from the points that I got from the credit card. So like even like in for Singapore Airlines, this year I didn't buy any
Any
ticket.
kind of
So all
tickets,
by
yeah.
redemptions. Yeah.
Oh, just the tax, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining to the show and kind of like share your experience. And if you know, as we actually try to converse, like if you want to travel luxurious, actually, if you have a chance to use redemption tickets, it's okay. So you know, I'm sure like for smart viewers who want to kind of like travel luxuriously, maybe you get some kind of like you know, some suggestions about that. So thank you, and we've come to the end of the show. Yeah, so make sure you stay tuned to another episode of Face to Face at the same day and time. Until then, I'm William signing off. Bye bye.